Well, welcome everyone. This is Terry Palma, being joined by Bev and Royse, and it is on the top of the hour, and you are listening to Conscious Gatherers. Welcome, and Bev and Royse, are you with me?
We're here. We're here. Yes, welcome everybody to our third episode for this season. We're going to go back to numbering our episodes from the first episode that we did, which is, I believe, Terry, it was a year ago, February. So it's almost been a year.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So it's going to be episode 36.
Not like that long.
I know. You go back and take a look at all the titles, and I was looking something up today, couldn't find it, so maybe we even talked about it, but it's called Change. But everything's changing. So we're going to talk about different things tonight, and we're going to just see where it leads us.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, if one of you ladies has the floor, go ahead and lead us off.
All right. I'll start it off with this is something that I received probably a week and a half ago, and so I shared it with both Terry and Royse last week, and so we talked about sharing it tonight, and I think this will take us a few places for our discussion tonight. And the words I received as a title, so to speak, is what we feel. So we'll see where this goes. All right. Okay. Here's the information that I received. It's empirical evidence is espoused by the mainstream media, and many people feel safe. That's that word, feel safe, in following the mainstream media. It is in tune with them. They may see, for instance, DJT, uses his initials, for example, as someone who triggers discomfort within them. Therefore, they may see him as a bully or a tyrant. It's an emotion. Is it true? Maybe for them, because it is in their belief system. What they perceive is what they believe. And if you recall, we even did a whole episode on what they perceive is what they believe. Okay, until that belief is shaken. So that was it. And that last sentence, until that belief is shaken, it's like, whoa, because our beliefs are being shaken. So, all right, Royse or Terry, would you care to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll comment on that. I would say that, your feelings or thoughts or your beliefs, as you said, are shaken. That might be an extreme because you can choose to change those feelings if you're aware of what's going on. And if you're not aware and you're just kind of cruising, like you said, following certain things, belief systems that you were really taught through by your parents, taught through the social environment, the schools, everything, and the media, obviously, are helping you get your beliefs and what you hold true. And if things do happen that kind of break that's where it could be, where you get shaken. Or you could be awakened. You can have an experience on the other end that's not shakening, frightening, but is kind of exhilarating, an aha moment, and that side will also help you change your beliefs and your feelings. And while we're on the word of feelings, know that feelings are the strongest thing in the creative process. Part of the creative process is to declare intention, and then it's to visualize the intention of the event already happening and move it back to the present time. So it's happened already, and you're just going to wait till it manifests. But what the juice that makes that whole thing go is the level of feelings that you add to it. So decree, visualize, but visualizing is not enough. You have to actually feel. You have to relive. You have to be there in the moment. That's why feelings are so strong, because they are the critical element in creating. So if we're using our feelings and we're fearful, the feelings come from fear. Remember, you're creating that, and you'll attract that to you. If your feelings are strong and they're happy and they're generous and they're blessings, that and you're feeling that, joyful, you attract that and you'll experience that. So I'll send it back to you.
Okay. Well, a thought just came to me that is, until that belief is shaken, or that feeling or fear. However, what I'm seeing internally and externally, actually, and what we term externally in the world, is a lot of that fear is being shaken. And so that fear is shaken as an awakening process. So in other words, no longer fearing. So that moves one out of that fear because they're awakened from their old belief system. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So I do feel that's what's going on now. And I feel so much more is to come on this world. I know we talk about that every episode, but I'm feeling it so strongly that our next few months are going to be, that's the right word, some upheaval. More awakening is going to happen. More things exposed. It says here, in my writing here, it says evidence is being espoused, totally different word. It's espoused by the mainstream media. And we're going to find out, is the mainstream media really giving us truth, so-called truth, empirical truth. And I know that word has been out there, those fact checkers of the fact checkers of the fact checkers. It's like, okay, so that kind of goes around in circles. And what is empirical? And it basically means verifiable by observation or experience rather than just pure logic. But we're us that understand a little bit more about the human, and those that are listening understand the importance of our feelings. So in our emotions. So and we're awakened to see what's going on in the world, and are awakening more so within ourselves because things will hit us. We'll see something that is not quite right, and we realize, that's really in me. It's really nobody else's problem, such as seeing a person that is a bully or a tyrant. And are they? Or is that your issue? To me, it's your issue. So why is that an issue with you? And it's for people to start looking at it. Again, every episode we talk about pointing the finger. And so we want to blame somebody else. And then we're talking about taking responsibility for yourselves. Everybody taking responsibility for themselves, those that can, and obviously help those that have an issue with that or have a problem with that we help them along.
Is the internalization of something. You can see something happening with somebody else, but if you can be open enough to see how that relates to you personally, you internalize it, you look at where that is within yourself, then you're getting somewhere. Mm-hmm. That's when you learn a lot about yourself, and you can let things go. You can really make some headway. Get the ball rolling instead of being stagnant in the same old stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I won't give away what we talked about earlier, but what comes up in us, and it's like, well, wait a minute, and all of a sudden you may feel, I think I can use this word, pissy. Okay, and you're like, why am I, what's with me? Why am I so mad at the world, or whatever words you want to use, or universe, or God, or family member, whatever, and it's or yourself. Like, why did I allow this within me? And so you're mad at yourself for allowing that. And done it numerous times, like, what was I thinking? And then the more that you talk about it and get it out, then it's so much easier to let it go because you're acknowledging that there's an issue there. And then once you acknowledge that issue and you talk about it, and then you realize how important is this, or holding on to this anger or anguish or whatever it may be.
That's right. That's right.
So, all right.
Yeah, the sooner that one realizes that everything that you're looking at, you're really looking in a mirror, and it's being reflected back of what's going on with you. And as soon as you realize that, you're good to use the word shaken there, to realize, wait a minute, what do you mean? Everything I see out there and everybody that's out there is a mirror. It is. We create and we reflect outward that which we are inward. So the things you see, the people that interact, all the events that happen, you've created so that you can look at them and see how you want to. If you want to change them, change them. And as soon as we realize that, our whole life changes. We take on the responsibility now, as opposed to giving blame. And it really changes everything. And it is a truth. Whether you take it or not, it is the truth. We create everything that's out there, and it's simply a mirror reflecting to us so that we can grow, learn, and evolve.
Yeah. Yep. And how many people really realize that? I mean, still trying to think of the words to use here. I'm going to not to get political, but we see this political thing going on worldwide. I mean, it's worldwide. All eyes on America, right? And basically, what happens here affects the world. Okay, so now we have Biden and as president, and I'm going to go there, and there's many saying, no, he's not the president, because that's part of an old corporation that's no longer viable. And then, actually we're in a republic. So, is that true? Is it not true? Can we depend upon our elected officials, or can't we? It can be either Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter, or Libertarian, or whatever you want to believe. So it's all this rhetoric is out there. And does that affect us? Yes, it's affecting everybody, at least if you allow it to. But most of us are allowing, and we're observing, and then we're looking more within ourselves as we observe and saying that's right or that's wrong, or is it? In other words, so much more being disclosed. And so we're seeing more that's being disclosed within us. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting in taking a look at this. And so that belief, so-called belief of an outer world, is really our inner world. And so our inner world, as you said, I think, Terry, is getting shaken. If you want to call it that, because we're awakening more and more, and we're thinking we're awake, and then something pops in, and like, whoa, okay, that's something I'm looking at now, and if it triggers you, then there's an issue there. So, any comments on that?
None
okay,
from me.
Quiet. Go ahead.
Oh, our sponsors aren't going to like Dead Time. What fun.
Yes, sponsors. Okay. We have no sponsors, guys. It's us.
But, I have been listening to like both sides of the coin, the both sides, to see what each one has to say. And it has been interesting to hear the same rhetoric from each side. So they're giving the same issues and applying it to one person, and then the other side is using those same issues and applying it to this other person. So it's the same words being tossed back and forth.
Mhm.
Well,
And
you know why that is, Royce? It's a very simple explanation. Okay, and I'm going to use a statue as an example. Okay, there's a statue down the aisle of the Senate. Let's use the Senate, okay, because it's in Senate right now, and both sides are looking at the same statue. However, their point of view is opposite each other. They're different. So each side is describing what they're seeing and what they're believing is true, and it is because of their vantage point, from their standpoint, from their belief system. They're looking right at it, whereas the other side is telling the truth and seeing something different, even though they're both looking at the same statue. It's from a different point of view, and all they'd have to do is get up and move around and go the other side of the aisle and look at the statue and go, oh, I see what you're talking about. And you can use that on any kind of dichotomy, opposite ends. That's really what's happening. They are looking at something from a different point of view, even though they're looking at the same thing.
yes, that applies to, like what I was saying, the last episode about the 5-pointed star. You have one that goes upright and the other one goes upside down, but when you put the two together, you make a 6-pointed star, which is the light in the lantern of the hermit. So it takes both sides to shed light on the whole subject, to add that understanding. And
well, you just said that, shine light on it, because it does, because again, the duality program that we have been so indoctrinated in, I mean, it's why we're here, and saying, okay, that the darkness is the deep darkness is leaving. And yeah, there is a darkness, and I think people are going to be shocked from some of the stuff that I've heard. It's pretty awful. I got to thinking about that. Is that a statue that people, or is that looking beyond the statue and saying, okay, I don't want to go there, even though I've been a part of it? See what I'm saying? Without saying it.
Exactly. Remember now, let's say we have, and again, we're using analogy. We have 50 people on one side of the statue and 50 people on the other side, all looking at the same statue. Amongst the 50 on each side, there's going to be differences on what they see, maybe the coloring, the shading, and they're all seeing based on what they've been taught to believe and their values. So even though the 50 on the same side have a point of view reference, they're all going to see something different, and that's where the darker light could come in, or the grays, or whatever you want to say. So even within the same point of view, because you have individuality, individual people, and their own lessons of what they're here for and what they're learning, their perspective is going to be, and I'm not using the word tainted as a negative, but just tainted in a shade or a color or a flavor that they're accustomed to because of their belief system.
Yeah. What I just thought about, was it last week or the week or the episode before that? We had received channeling called Liberty Rising, and then both Royce and I were seeing that Statue of Liberty, that or Lady Liberty, that was standing in the middle of the United States, and it was huge. It would go from coast to coast, head to toe, if you were to lay the Lady Liberty sideways. We were seeing the green patina that happens with oxidation of copper, correct? But we were seeing the patina, that green patina just wash off, exposing the beauty that was underneath.
Yeah, the brilliance.
The brilliance, which to me is the light. And that's really saying a lot, because it is the light of our freedom, even though we feel we've been free, but we're going to find out we're going to feel a lot freer when many of these things are changes that were going on now, especially within the United States and across the world too. So it just, I don't know if we even said that during that episode, but it just really flew in is why, we could see that shiny coat underneath, because it is the true us. It is the true awakening. And when we are truly awake, we're going to feel a lot freer, because we're going to understand ourselves and not depend upon another to find truth. So,
well, it's just like how you feel when you have a conversation with somebody. You're voicing something that really needed to be said. After all is said and done, you get things aired out, and the conversation going. It's a breath of fresh air. It's like you took a shower, and it's all fresh again. The garbage is gone.
Good way of putting it. Because every time we take a shower, you feel a lot better afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
no matter how tired you are to begin with, you always feel better when you're clean.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, Terry?
Well, I'm here.
All right.
I'm just listening.
All right. Any more comments on that before we move on?
Nope, I'm ready to go.
All right. All right, Royse, I'm going to let you talk about your vision on New Jerusalem.
Oh yeah, it was actually an experience that I had while I was sleeping, and for those of you who've had experiences like that, I'm sure you understand that it's the totally different between an experience in dream state, in sleep state, as opposed to a dream. But I found myself in an old city. The building everything was hewn out of stone, and so it's like they used to use to build Jerusalem and all of the older civilizations. I was there, and something drew my attention to the sky, and I walked around a corner and looked up in the sky, and there was the most awe-inspiring sight. It had the coloring of 15th and 16th century artwork, the deep, rich colors, but it was like an oval-shaped asteroid-looking thing that was getting closer and closer, but it had these rich, rich colors like the deep sapphire and the emerald greens and the browns and everything all kind of mixed in together. And in the center, it actually looked like a geode. And as it was getting closer, I sang the first line of the Holy City, which is, "Last night I lay a-sleeping." And at that point, I couldn't sing anymore. I was just too in awe. And I sat down on the step of this very large building, just watching this thing getting closer and closer. And in the center of it, it was almost like mountain peaks, like how the crystals are inside of a geode, except it was made out of silver. And for some reason, when I saw that, it came across to my mind as dwelling places. And I knew that I was looking at something that my mind was interpreting as New Jerusalem. And I just sat there for a while, just absorbing this beauty. And then I came out of the sleep state and just pondered over what I had just seen. And from what I understand, there are a lot of people now who are talking about New Jerusalem. So, Bev, I believe you have some stuff to say about that.
Okay, well, after Royce told me about her sleep time experience, and I'm aware of the term New Jerusalem for years, actually, and pardon me, and I was told years ago that Sananda's ship was called New Jerusalem, which it may, but they were referring to the earth as New Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing this is, seeing, is this, the future earth or a higher aspect, a sixth dimensional earth? I'm not sure. But I have written in my books about Jerusalem and what that implies and what the name is. And it's, instead of the word New Jerusalem, it was just Jerusalem. So in my first book, it's called the Book of the Azores. They called Jerusalem as a balance of maturation in the thought forms of love. The love in the heart of God shall be made manifest in all life. No more shall creation be entangled in a web of disguise and deceit. So we're seeing that now. And the other thing is, I was told, it says, in the name of the One, capital O-N-E, our great creator of the universes, we are the brothers and sisters that now take this vow that this earth shall become the shining star of Jerusalem. And I feel that we're all the brothers and sisters. And most of us are embodied on this earth at this time. And so we're here to make this earth, again, the shining star of Jerusalem.
That's beautiful. My take on all that, what I was feeling and sensing as you were talking about that, was more than a location, and I do believe Earth is a New Jerusalem, but more than an actual location or place. I was getting that it was the shift in consciousness, because it was in Jerusalem, the place, that Jesus, the man, came and changed the consciousness of what man is from the true teachings of Jesus. And so I'm thinking and feeling that the New Jerusalem is that we are ready to move into a new consciousness that will awaken us, and actually we'll know who we are and why we're here and how special everybody is. So that's what I was feeling as you were talking about and sharing your vision, Royce. But again, that's my shade of looking at the statue.
Yes. Now, I began by singing the first line of the Holy City, that song. The last verse of that song is, and once again the scene was changed. New earth there seemed to be. I saw the holy city beside the tideless sea. The light of God was on its streets. The gates were opened wide, and all who would might enter, and no one was denied. It was the New Jerusalem. It just gets me choked up.
Yeah. It's also, it's just a shift in consciousness. And in one of my writings called Book of Jerusalem, imagine that. It's in, I think, the first book. Anyway, what I was told Jerusalem meant is man in his own power, formed from the collective embrace of the masculine and the feminine. And another way of saying that is that we are whole unto ourselves. City of peace. Yeah. So that's where we're going, folks.
Heading towards something very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And what we're going through now is dropping all those old thought forms.
Taking a bath.
Taking a bath. Shedding that green patina and showing our true selves, our shining selves. And that's the statue, Terry.
Yes.
No matter how you look at it. I never thought about that until just now. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, good.
All right.
Well, we're at the half hour. Unless you have a new subject or something you really need to share now, we can end the session and be ready for another one in 2 weeks, which will be on the 23rd of February at 7 o'clock. So, ladies, I'll give you the final words of wisdom, as you always have for us, to close out the show.
All right. I'll start it off. Well, thank you for being here with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Appreciate that. And look at yourselves as that New Jerusalem, as that shining star. And as we go through these processes that we're going through right now, and seeing some of the darkness in the world that is playing itself out and being outed, that hold on to knowing that we will be dancing in the streets and we'll feel that freedom like we've never felt it before.
And I would just like to reiterate something that I said a couple of episodes ago, recalling what a friend had shared with me, just giving me thanks for still being here, for staying in the earth plane to help out in whatever way I could. So I'd like to say to everyone, I love you and thank you for staying.
Very good. Well, we've enjoyed being with you. We look forward to seeing you and hearing you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and be happy. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.